On a snowy day in early January, a helicopter hovers over a hilltop in southwest Idaho. A crew of biologists from the Idaho Department of Fish and Game waits on the ground amidst a series of nets. Suddenly, a small mule deer bounds over the horizon, running from the chopper. The fawn races down a hillside straight into one of the nets.
Get it down! Get it down!
The biologists spring into action, binding the deer's legs and putting a blinder over its eyes. Then they test its health, looking for injury, measuring it
above it or behind it,
and weighing it.
There we go. Okay, 72.
The information they gather provides clues about whether the animal will survive until spring.
Probably the most significant determinant of whether a fawn's going to make it through the winter or not is its body weight and condition going into the winter. So the higher the weight the deer is going into winter, the higher the likelihood it's going to survive the winter.
This year, the fawns are heavy thanks to abundant food late last summer.
84.
After they measure and weigh each fawn, the workers fit it with a collar using surgical tubing that will eventually decompose, allowing the collar to fall off. Throughout winter, a small radio transmitter inside the collar provides Fish and Game with valuable information. That's where technician David Collins comes in. Every week during the winter, Collins puts up an antenna, tunes in a receiver, and listens. The beeps Collins receives come from the collar transmitters. Each transmitter has its own frequency, so he's able to track the movement of every deer that's fitted with a collar. Once he's done recording the locations of the deer in this open terrain, Collins heads for the hills. As he winds along the Payette River, Collins continues to listen for the beeps that tell him where each collared deer is located. If a collar is not moved for more than 4 hours, Collins receives a mortality signal, which indicates the fawn may have died and he must find it. That requires a directional antenna which allows him to hone in on the fawn so he can try to determine how it died.
You'll be able to tell where the animal was taken from, whether it be by the neck or if it was taken by a front quarter or a rear hind. And there's little puzzles that you can figure out, tracks, things like that.
On this day, Collins is simply demonstrating what he would do if he had received a mortality signal. In fact, he has received very few this winter. Wildlife manager John Rachael says the mild winter has been good for deer in Idaho.
This year, our rates in our different study areas have ranged between 87% and 96%, which is about as high as we've had. So fawns made it through the winter very well this year and seem to be in pretty good condition.
That will likely mean good news for Idaho hunters in the future, as Fish and Game uses the information from the fawn monitoring program to set seasons that satisfy the desires of hunters while keeping Idaho's mule deer herds strong. Steve Liebenthal reporting.